Many a book is like a key to unknown chambers within the castle of one's own self. A book must be the axe for the frozen sea within us. I am a cage in search of a bird. Youth is happy because it has the capacity to see beauty. Anyone who keeps the ability to see beauty never grows old. Don't bend, don't water it down, don't try to make it logical, don't edit your own soul according to the fashion. Rather, follow your most intense obsessions mercilessly. I write differently from what I speak differently from what I think differently from the way I ought to think, and so it all proceeds into deepest darkness. I am free, and that is why I am lost. A first sign of the beginning of understanding is the wish to die. I cannot make you understand. I cannot make anyone understand what is happening inside me. I cannot even explain it to myself. The meaning of life is that it stops. All language is but a poor translation. A non-writing writer is a monster, courting insanity. Letter to Max Brod, July 5, 1922. I think we ought to read only the kind of books that wound and stab us. Books are a narcotic. Slept, awoke, miserable life. Paths are made by walking. By believing passionately in something that still does not exist, we create it. The non-existent is whatever we have not sufficiently desired. I have the true feeling of myself only when I am unbearably unhappy. Now I can look at you in peace. I don't eat you anymore. Writing is utter solitude, the descent into the cold abyss of oneself. There is an infinite amount of hope in the universe, but not for us. I am in chains. Don't touch my chains. It's only because of their stupidity that they're able to be so sure of themselves. Love is that you are the knife which I plunge into myself. Better to have and not need than to need and not have. I do not speak as I think, I do not think as I should, and so it all goes on in helpless darkness. They say ignorance is bliss. They're wrong. I usually solve problems by letting them devour me. As Gregor Samsara awoke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect. In man's struggle against the world, bet on the world. He is terribly afraid of dying because he hasn't yet lived. I need solitude for my writing, not like a hermit, that wouldn't be enough, but like a dead man. L'apostrophe dernier, c'est long, surround vers la fin. You are at once both the quiet and the confusion of my heart. This tremendous world I have inside of me, how to free myself and this world without tearing myself to pieces, and rather tear myself to 1,000 pieces than be buried with this world within me. Love is a drama of contradictions. Beyond a certain point, there is no return. This point has to be reached. First impressions are always unreliable. I have spent all my life resisting the desire to end it. May I kiss you then? On this miserable paper? I might as well open the window and kiss the night air. Most men are not wicked. They are sleepwalkers, not evildoers. We photograph things in order to drive them out of our minds. My stories are a way of shutting my eyes. I miss you deeply, unfathomably, senselessly, terribly. Just think how many thoughts a blanket smothers while one lies alone in bed, and how many unhappy dreams it keeps warm. You can hold yourself back from the sufferings of the world. That is something you are free to do, and it accords with your nature, but perhaps this very holding back is the one suffering you could avoid. Kill me, or you are a murderer. Written kisses don't reach their destination, rather they are drunk on the way by the ghosts. From a certain point onward there is no longer any turning back. That is the point that must be reached. I am free, and that is why I am lost. This brings me back to the image of Kafka, standing before a fish in the Berlin aquarium, a fish on which his gaze fell in a newly found peace after he decided not to eat animals. Kafka recognized that fish as a member of his invisible family, not as his equal, of course, but as another being that was his concern. But what if all the tranquility, all the comfort, all the contentment were now to come to a horrifying end? Un libro deve Asia per il margiaxiato che dentro di noi. I have spent all my life resisting the desire to end it. Franz Kafka, Letters to Milena. I think we ought to read only the kind of books that wound or stab us. If the book we're reading doesn't wake us up with a blow to the head, what are we reading for? So that it will make us happy, as you write? Good Lord, we would be happy, precisely if we had no books, and the kind of books that make us happy are the kind we could write ourselves if we had to. But we need books that affect us like a disaster, that grieve us deeply, like the death of someone we loved more than ourselves, like being banished into forests far from everyone, like a suicide. A book must be the axe for the frozen sea within us. That is my belief. You do not need to leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. Do not even listen, simply wait, be quiet, still and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. I can't think of any greater happiness than to be with you all the time, without interruption, endlessly, even though I feel that here in this world there's no undisturbed place for our love, neither in the village nor anywhere else, and I dream of a grave, deep and narrow, where we could clasp each other in our arms as with clams, And I would hide my face in you and you would hide your face in me, and nobody would ever see us anymore. It's only because of their stupidity that they're able to be so sure of themselves. He is terribly afraid of dying because he hasn't yet lived. I never wish to be easily defined. I'd rather float over other people's minds as something strictly fluid and non-perceivable, more like a transparent, paradoxically iridescent creature rather than an actual person. I usually solve problems by letting them devour me.